Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Love to see you all here for another one, and especially my returning subscribers. Big shout out to you guys. Love you so much. Thanks for joining me for another one. So in the last video that I did, and I'll go ahead and put a link in the description and possibly somewhere on the screen here as well, but I did a video where I talked about how I finally joined the 800 plus club. And it's funny because even if you're trying to share information with people, sometimes you get all these interesting comments online. And I'm telling you, YouTube is not for people who can't handle these comments, especially from people all over the world. But I wanted to bring up this comment, and especially I wanted to share it with you guys, and I'll put it up on the screen here as well. But on my last video, and shout out to Bun and Cheese 1290, quite an interesting name there, but let's see what he has to say. So Bun and Cheese 1290 says, "What is it supposed to be? I've had an 800 plus score since I was in my mid-20s. Okay. I'm 40. Who thinks this is some magical thing? And your FICO auto scores and bank card credit scores can go above 850. All right, Bun and Cheese 1290. Thank you for leaving your comment. Really appreciate it. And I love that you watch my channel. That's pretty cool. The biggest thing that I was trying to explain to folks is that credit scores, they don't really mean much. I don't think that you actually got the message of the video, so I would recommend that you watch the video again so you can understand the message. And I get it, right? I completely agree with your comment. I don't think that it's anything out of this world. And congratulations to you for being able to hit that 800 credit score in your 20s. But of course, not a lot of people do that, number one. But number two, like I said, the biggest message of all was that it's not what it's cracked up to be. A lot of people think that because you have an 800 plus credit score that you are wealthy, or you know how money works. Far from the truth. But more importantly, I do want to jump in today's content, and it has directly to do with your comment here. And it's a CNBC article that I found online, and it's quite interesting that it's titled "The Average Credit Score in the United States in 2025." And I want to go over it with you guys. And especially for folks like Bun and Cheese 1290, I don't know if you have a high credit score and just have no money whatsoever, or maybe you have a lot of money and a high credit score. I don't know. But for purely educational purposes, I want to dive into this article for today. But before we do that, of course, make sure you give me a like for the video, as it helps the channel grow. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so that way you're notified whenever I upload new videos to the channel. And of course, share this with a family member or friend, because you never know, you may have a Bun and Cheese in your family who thinks a credit score is easy to get in their 20s, but maybe they have no money and all they do is live on credit cards. I don't know. Who knows? But the point is that we're here to educate everybody, and everybody can come along for the journey. So let's head to the computer, go over this quick article. I'll teach you guys a thing or two. And if you want to be featured in my next video, like Bun and Cheese over here, go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section below. All right, guys, let's head to the desktop. Hey guys, welcome to the desktop. And more importantly, I wanted to show you guys an article that I ran into the other day. And the article is titled "The Average Credit Score in the US in 2025." And it's a CNBC article written by, I guess, Dan Avery. So Dan Avery, shout out to you. More importantly, I wanted to go through the article because this actually ties into the video that I did last time, talking about how I made it into the 800 club when it came to a credit score. But more importantly, what the credit score really is. And it's not all that it's cracked up to be quite honest. So jumping into it, and this is one of the most interesting things that I want to point out to you guys, is Americans are carrying a record 1.2, and we'll round it off there, 1.2 trillion in credit card debt, according to the Federal Reserve's Bank of New York. But somehow they're managing to keep their credit scores out of the dumps. So isn't that interesting? And we talked about this in the last video. So you can have a high credit score, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are good with money. And in fact, actually, it really doesn't mean anything. And this article proves this. So it goes on to say the average US FICO score is 715. That's pretty high, actually. Now that I think about it, I didn't even think the United States had such a high credit score. But anyways, continuing on. According to the Credit Monitoring Bureau Experian, where it's remained since 2013, FICO is the data analytics firm whose scoring models are used in 90% of lending decisions. So that's the one thing that I'll also tell you guys, is that this country is full of processes, to be quite honest. And one of the process that you're going to see often, and it goes whenever you are looking to borrow money, is companies will pull your FICO score. And we'll talk about that in a little bit because, of course, it's in this article. But they'll pull your FICO score and they'll make decisions whether they can lend you money for a car, whether you can rent an apartment, many other different things. But they solely make it off of this number, this FICO score number. And unfortunately, as you're starting to see in this article, with a record debt of $1.2 trillion in credit card debt, that's a lot of debt, and it's the highest we've ever had in history. How is it that companies are making decisions on whether or not you can pay them back off of a number that's based off of how much debt that you have? It's really kind of backwards when you think about it. But anyways, continuing on. While it's still considered a good credit score, 715 is a bit shy of the record 718 that was reached in April of 2023. All right, so let's go down a little bit here. And the article is comprised through a couple of sections. And so in the interest of education, if you guys don't know about how a credit score is created, let's jump into that section real quick. So what is a credit score and how is it tabulated? And this is kind of interesting. It says it was introduced in 1989. Man, do I feel very old knowing that I was around during that time. I won't tell you guys how old I am, but I was around at that time. Jesus. I feel really old now. Anyways, continuing forward. So the FICO score ranged from 300 to 850. There's 3-digit figures indicating to lenders how likely you are to repay your debt in full and on time. And it's generated based on a variety of criteria and mainly your payment history. So how often do you make full on-time payments? And this is the largest percentage of your credit score according to the article. Now, if you guys watch my videos where I talk about automating your finances and especially automating your payments, you never have to think about whether you make those payments on time or not. And of course, this affects your credit score. And as you see here, it's one of the largest. So if you automate it and you never have to think about it and you never miss an on-time payment, it helps with getting to that high 800 score or 800 plus. So moving on to the next one, it says credit utilization. What percentage of your total available credit are you tapping into? So as an example, let's say you have $100,000 worth of credit available. So credit utilization, if I have say a 10% credit utilization or $10,000 that I'm using of the $100,000, that is a good credit utilization because you're not so high and the companies don't think that you are a risk. So having that small credit utilization is also something that they like to see. And typically 10% is kind of what I've seen throughout the years that companies like you to be in. At least 10% and under. So moving on, it says here length of credit history, how long you've been using the credit. So as an example, if you took out a credit card in college, which most people do and they fall into that trap. But if you took out a credit card in college and then 10 years later, you have this credit card that's still there, you have that long credit history and they'll make that decision based off of that. New credit, this is constantly that I see a lot. So folks that sign up for those department store cards all the time, or they go ahead and churn through credit cards, constantly applying for new credit will also lower your credit score. And of course, the article tells you that. It says the proliferation of new lines of credit will lower your score, just like we talked about. And of course, credit mix. So lenders want to see a variety of lines of credit across several but not too many accounts. So sometimes they want to see revolving credit. So if you think about like credit cards, or sometimes they want to see maybe some long-term loans that you've been paying back steadily over time. So think of like student loan, mortgages. You'll have to have a good credit mix there. And to be quite honest with you, this ties back to what I was explaining in the last video. So you have to do all this stuff to bring up a high credit score to then be able to borrow more money, and you're perpetually in this cycle. So this is really good from an educational perspective, but honestly, if you watch my last videos I explained, it's not really worth the hassle in my opinion. All right, so moving on to the average credit score, and it says here that the latest data from Experian put the average FICO score at 715, and that's actually really high to be quite honest. I didn't really know that America had such a high credit score. While 850 is a perfect score, 715 is still considered a good for both FICO and Vantage score, which would qualify you for a prime car loan interest. Guys, do not, and I repeat, please do not sign up for a car loan. That's one of the worst decisions you can ever do, honestly. Not only are you buying something that depreciates over time, and it's a massive depreciation, you're also getting hit with interest on top of that. It's the fastest way to take $30,000 and turn it into $10,000 within like 1 or 2 years. It's really, really horrible. So when you're reading these articles, know when to figure out when stuff sucks, and this line right here sucks. Don't take out a prime car loan. Very, very, very horrible. Anyways, enough beating that horse. It says here, it's well above 620 needed to be approved for a conventional mortgage, but about 45 points shy of the 760 that will get you the best rates for a home loan. So let's jump a little bit into what the score ranges are. So as I told you guys in my last video, I hit well over the 800 score, so I'm in the excellent score. Very good is between 740 to 799. Good is 670 to 739. And honestly, if you're below that, it's not looking too hot for you. Now that is the FICO. Let's take a look at the Vantage score. So excellent is 781 to 850. Good is 661 to 780. Fair is 601 to 660. And then of course, from there on, it doesn't get any better. So the article continues to say, according to a statement from FICO, stimulus program from the government in the wake of the COVID-19 epidemic helped buoy credit scores, as did an inability to travel and purchase luxury goods. There is no way of knowing which credit modeling platform a lender will use or which version. FICO scores 8 and 9 are commonly used for student loans, for example, as well as auto loans and credit card lines. And the article goes on and it says here, if you want to improve your credit score, there are some basic steps you can take. Now, I've explained it in the last video of what you can do to easily and automatically improve your credit score. So once you start implementing those steps, like I discussed before, you really don't need to improve your credit score. You don't really have to follow any of these basics because you'll get there, to be quite honest. So another area that I wanted to talk about, and I thought this was very interesting, is the average credit score in your state. And according to the article, it says here the state with the highest FICO score is Minnesota with 742. And the state with the lowest credit score is Mississippi with 680. Now, it makes me wonder how many people in Minnesota are living with so much debt out of that 1.2 trillion credit card debt. I don't know. Kind of interesting. As you all know, if you've seen my channel for quite some time now, I'm in this great state of Florida. So of course they have the 23 FICO score and the 24. So if I take a look at where we are for Florida, let's see, Florida, where are you, Florida? Here we are. So Florida back in 2023 had a 708. In 2024, we had a 707. So we actually went down a point. So meaning that I guess we don't do well here in Florida compared to the rest of the country. Now, if you're interested in seeing your state, and of course, because I went through the list very, very quickly, I'll go ahead and leave a link to the article in the description below. Now, the article finally goes and finishes up with how can you improve your credit score? And to be honest with you, these were the things that I was talking about in the last video. So it's really not much to it. So pay down your revolving lines of credit. And if you have things on automatic payment and they get paid off every single month and you don't pay any interest, you always pay down your revolving lines of credit. So that's done automatically. And then increase your credit limit. And I've talked about this before in the other video. When you start automatically paying your bills and it just happens automatically, they'll see that you're responsible over time and automatically give you those credit limit increases. So as time goes on, you'll get those and thus increasing your credit score because it's going to lower your credit utilization. So remember, as your credit score increases, you don't change your spending habits and you continue paying what you've been paying. So therefore, that means your credit utilization will start to go down because that credit limit will continue to rise and rise over time. So that's also something to take into consideration. And then it goes on and tells you check your credit report for errors. Guys, this is actually something that I do every single year and I highly recommend it. So in the beginning of January every single year, I have something in the calendar to remind me to go ahead and check my credit report. Not because I really care about the scores that I have. It's more so of I want to make sure that there's no fraudulent activity under my name. And of course, that ties into number 4, where it says here, ask to have your negative entries that are paid off removed from your credit report. Now, the article goes on to credit scores, FAQs, but honestly, it's really not that important at this point. So again, I wanted to show you this article because the main point here is that it ties back to the last video, and that is we have high credit scores here in the United States, so we're good at paying our bills, but we are deeply, deeply in debt because we have that 1.2 trillion in credit card debt, and it's the highest it's ever been in history. So for those people out there who think that this credit score really matters, I would highly recommend that you think again, because essentially all you're doing is keeping yourself in this perpetual rat race. And it's really, really sad to see people fall into this trap. All right, guys, so welcome back. You certainly learned a thing or two about credit scores, and especially in the United States. And it's quite interesting because in the United States, we have very high credit scores, as you've learned. But unfortunately, if people knew about money, why is it that 7 to 8 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck? It's crazy how most people can't afford a $1,000 emergency. So this tells me that yes, even though we may have credit scores, we still don't know how money works in this country. But don't worry, guys, I'm here to teach you. I'm here to educate you all. If you want to be featured in the next video, go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, I'm almost done charging the car. I gotta head back. Been a long business trip. But more importantly, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Make sure you guys support the channel by giving me a like for the video, and also as well subscribing to the channel and turning on your notifications. Share this with a family member or friend. Oh, one last thing before I let you guys go. I do have spots available for that free 30-minute coaching session. So link will be in the description below. There are still a few spots left over. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and sign up for that. And if that link doesn't work anymore, then clearly we ran out of spots. So in that case, there'll be other links in there where you can go ahead and book time on my calendar and we can talk all about money. Anyways, guys, again, love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you all in the next video.